Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another one of the mini-casts that we are beginning to do. I have titled this one Designer Babies and Embryo Editing because we're going to be looking at just that. The fact that we have scientists trying to edit embryos, creating more designer babies, that they want to edit out defects, medically enhanced elite super workers, editing the base, chemical surgery performed on human embryos, and how scientists in China are creating human life for DNA experiments. We are indeed living in the days of transhumanism. We are seeing what it means to be human modified. They think as if right now we are flawed, as if our current state of living is cancerous, as if it's not optimal, as if we right now are imperfect. And these technocrats, these people who are doing these types of things, they feel like through their science, through this genome editing, through this gene therapy, that they can edit and create the new man. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. As I said before, we're going to be looking at things like that. Scientists editing embryo genes to study early human development, and how also researchers have warned how computer viruses can now be encoded in human DNA. This is something we'll get into later, but we need to set a foundation for what these people intend to do. What is the very concept behind trying to edit humans, doing things such as chemical surgery, editing the DNA base? Well, this article right here, it doesn't touch on it, but we'll try to throughout the entirety of the show. It's been put up September 20th. It's by Drudge Report Feed, and it goes like this. It says British scientists have used a genome editing tool known as CRISPR-Cas9 to knock out a gene in embryos just a few days old, testing the technique ability to decipher key gene functions in early human development. The researchers said their experiments using a technology that is the subject of fierce international debate because of the fears that it could create babies to order. Keep that in mind. Babies to order. Designer babies, so to speak. You could go in and tell them, well, I want my child to look like this. I want them to have these kind of characteristics. I want them to have this kind of personality. They are designing or creating babies to order. It will deepen the understanding of the biology of early human development. CRISPR-Cas9, which is the tool they are using, it can enable scientists to find and modify or replace genetic defects. That is their intention, to try to modify or replace genetic defects. That's how they'll introduce this. As I said before, there's problems right now that they see amongst humanity, problems as caused by their vaccines, problems as caused by this genetically modified food, problems caused by these mutant boar-like, or these mutant-like boars that are being genetically bred, and all of these other strange things that we see happening. But they want to try to edit out these genetic defects. Many describe it as a game-changing tool. Quote, one way to find out what a gene does in the developing embryo is to see what happens when it isn't working. Basically turning it off, said Kathy Neakin, a stem cell scientist who led the research at Britain's Francis Crick Institute. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that place, I know that for sure. Quote, now we have demonstrated an efficient way of doing this. We hope that the other scientists will use it to find out the roles of other genes. She said her hopes was for scientists to decipher the roles of all the key genes embryos needed to develop successfully. This could then improve IVF treatments for infertile couples and also help doctors understand why so many pregnancies fail. It, quote, it may take time, or it may take years, to achieve such an understanding of our study. This is just the first step. So basically what they're trying to do is figure out how to make the best human, how to make the best version of man. But who designs these tests? Who funds these types of things? You see, let's take a look over here at the website, factionsofreedom.gemdo.com, and I'll put some of these articles in the description bar below so you guys can check it out. But right here, Chinese scientists create human life for DNA experiments. Christian bioethicists disturbed. Well, I think everybody would be disturbed over people creating life. Okay, it says that a Christian bioethics lecturer has spoken out against new DNA surgery carried out by Chinese scientists who are reportedly creating lab-grown human embryos in order to test disease-removing techniques. Let's just put that right there. Creating lab-grown human embryos. That's why this is important. They're creating people. This is soft disclosure of their way of possibly even saying that they have clones. But the technology is there. And on top of that, they are trying to remove certain genes, create a different person. Continuing on, it says, what concerns me, and actually quite a number of bioethicists and those who are looking and researching in this field, is that we have here is scientists who are deliberately creating human life, deliberately creating human embryos. These are not embryos that have been left over as spares from fertility treatments from IVF. Dr. Trevor Stammers, bioethicist lecturer at St. Mary's University in Twickenham, told Premier. It goes on to say that they have been specifically created to be experimented upon and then destroyed, which is why they are no children who were cured that the Chinese are bringing out. It's just proof of a principle, and it's been gained in a way that many people would regard as being unethical. Yeah, you're literally creating life. As they said right here, they're creating embryos. What concerns me, and actually quite a number of bioethicists and those who are looking and researching in this field, is that what we have here is scientists who are deliberately creating human life, deliberately creating human embryos. Let me get back into this. It says Chinese researchers at Sun Yat-sen University told BBC News that precise chemical surgery has been performed on human embryos to remove diseases for the first time using a base editing technique that corrects a single error in the human genetic code. The scientist who removed the disease, beta thalassemia, from the altered lab-made embryos, said that one day a variety of inherited diseases could also be treated using such method. Quote, we are the first to demonstrate the feasibility of curing genetic diseases in human embryos by base editor system, said Junji Huang, one of the researchers. The lab-grown embryos were apparently produced through cloning. Let's put a pause on that right there. Made through cloning. That's what we're dealing with. They're creating people. This is what DARPA wants, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. They literally want to try to create super soldiers. They want to try to weed out fear. They want to try to weed out reason. They don't want us to think for ourselves. They want to be able to control us. And if they can genetically engineer us in such a way to where we are that subservient, we would never literally have the capability or even the thought pattern to revolt. So whenever you have people of the intelligence community, of the science community, of the medical community, and even within our field who are researching these types of things, when we have people trying to sound the alarms about this, this is probably something we should pay attention to. You see, people don't ask the question, well, what happens whenever we have a lot of these problems surface? These create epigenetic diseases. This creates problems that we don't know how to deal with yet. Problems that we don't have the solutions for. Let's take a look at this. I'll try to find the article for you. Let's look at these mutant-like boars that are being genetically bred. Well, what is McDonald's? What is Monsanto? You see, this is the world that we are living in. You see, people are consuming these extra chemicals, this extra meat. This is designing, or at least manipulating, humanity. And if you don't think they're doing this on humans, well, I've got something to tell you. I can assure you they are. They're slipping this slowly into the food, into the chemicals, into the water. They're trying to not only make us sterile, but mutate us so that they can come through with these types of techniques and act as the savior, even though they have caused the problems. You see, editing embryos at an early age, trying to figure out how to correct genetic defects. Well, where are these genetic defects coming from? Why is this happening? Why are more people getting sick? Why are different superbugs being developed? It's because of all of the different things that we have going on in the planet. All the things that we have going on biologically. And whenever we don't take a step back and actually look at what happens to humanity while we're consuming this type of stuff, when we try to modify humanity, we're going to end up turning ourselves into monsters. Yeah, this might seem perfectly sane right now, but we're not looking 10, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. How many times are we going to have to edit and rewrite our code to get it right? You see, these transhumanists, they think right now we are flawed, but this is because of the things that they are doing through the chemtrails, the vaccines, the GMOs, and everything else, the atrazine, the fluoride, the lithium, the oxycontins, the pharmaceuticals, everything they do. This distorts the human body. This messes with the biochemistry of the human experience. And so whenever they do this, whenever they perpetuate this type of behavior, it is a slow, gradual dehumanization process. This is a slow kill. And their solution, rather than stopping these types of things, are to edit us, to modify us, to have chemical surgery performed on human embryos. Precise chemical surgery. You see. And this is what it means whenever I'm saying they're trying to engineer embryos and design humans. However, that's all I really have for you guys. I didn't want to go off on a whole jag. I didn't want to spiel for 30 minutes to an hour or so. I wanted to just make this as concise as possible so we could actually look at what it means whenever these people are trying to say they want to edit embryos. They want to create the new man. They are actually literally out there creating people, creating humans, cloning humans for medical science purposes. Doing all this type of genetic editing to create the super soldiers. And I'll put some of these links in the description bar below so you guys can check it out. But like I said, that's all I really have for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll also put that in the description bar below. And as always, guys, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noisera, Freedom Faction, out.